making the move to the FileMaker 14 platform. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this important and exciting information. My name's David Head. I'm a consulting engineer for FileMaker based in our Sydney office. So one of the triggers for this webinar is the impending end of support for FileMaker 11 products. And I'm assuming that the reason that you're here is because you are still using those products. We first announced the end of life of FileMaker 11 on the 2nd of December last year. So that date is rapidly approaching, being the 25th of September. And after the 25th of September, there will be no technical support available for the FileMaker 11 products. So that's not to say that they're going to stop working at that point. They will continue to work for you for the foreseeable future, but there will be no support available from FileMaker. There'll also be no replacement or downgrade media available, and certainly no ability to get any additional version 11 licenses. So if you need additional licenses for any version 11 products, best to order them before the 25th of September. Additionally, on the 1st of September, we will be removing FileMaker Go 13 from the App Store. That's probably a very minor change, but obviously FileMaker Go 14 will continue to be available on the App Store, and that's completely compatible with FileMaker 13 systems. So just looking at where we've come from in FileMaker 11, FileMaker 11 was released in March of 2010. So that's quite a long time ago. It's actually a few lifetimes ago in terms of IT. If you think back to March 2010, when FileMaker 11 was released, in those days we didn't even have iPads. iPads were released in April of 2010. The iPhone 4 was released in June of 2010, so people were still using iPhone 3s at that time. And from a movie point of view, the movie Avatar 1 had been released in December of 2009, so that was the big movie of the time. So certainly while the operating systems that FileMaker Pro 11 was designed for are still functional, the reality is that none of them or many of them are no longer supported by Apple and Microsoft, and they lack support for new modern features and functionality, not to mention the lack of security updates released for those and also bug fixes. So when you move to the FileMaker 14 platform, you need to consider what are the currently supported operating systems and hardware requirements. So it's going to be a factor for you in any move. So the first thing that you'll need to consider when you move to FileMaker 14 is how to convert your file. If you're using any version of FileMaker Pro from 7 through to FileMaker 11, your files will be in the FP7 format. And the file format was changed with the release of FileMaker Pro 12 to FMP12. And that same file format is shared by FileMaker 13 and FileMaker 14 products. So converting your file is relatively easy. The two easiest and most common ways that you do that are either by opening an FP7 file in, say, FileMaker Pro 14, or by dragging and dropping your FP7 solution or a folder full of solutions onto the FileMaker Pro 14 application icon. So the conversion itself doesn't change your original FP7 file at all. It makes a copy in the FMP12 file format. So depending on the size and complexity of your old solution, the conversion process could take some time. We've certainly heard some stories of files taking quite some time to convert, but we're talking about literally 3 or 4 gigabyte files that people are converting from the old format. During conversion, a log is generated and you can review that log to see if any issues arise. So you're well advised to thoroughly test your converted files before you put them into production, and certainly don't be afraid to throw away the converted files, make some changes to your original FP7 files and try the conversion again. So it can be a process that you go to get the best converted file. And we have a lot of resources available for you how you convert these files to FileMaker Pro 14. There's a recorded webinar of best practices. Even though it's for FileMaker Pro 12, obviously it equally applies for converting directly to FileMaker 14. And be aware that now that FileMaker 14 exists, you don't need to convert to 12 and then 13 and 14. You can convert directly into FileMaker 14. There's a knowledge base article at help.filemaker.com that can help you with a lot of great information about converting your files. So go to help.filemaker.com and simply search for the number 10571, and that will get you to the knowledge base article that you need. And even though we'll no longer support the FP7 format after the 25th of September, we will continue to support file conversions to the FP12 format. So we've got free call numbers for technical support in Australia, New Zealand and Singapore. And if you're calling from elsewhere, there is an international number to call. And all of those numbers come straight through to our tech support in our Sydney office. So simply press the appropriate number for tech support and you'll talk to Tim and he'll help you out as much as he can with your conversions. So once you've converted your file to FileMaker 14, or if you're thinking about converting your file, then what are the compelling features for you to move your solution straight through to FileMaker 14? Well, clearly there have been lots of new features added in version 12, in version 13, in version 14, and even before those versions. And not all of these will apply to your solutions, but there should be at least a few for every person who's using FileMaker. So I'm going to group these up into features that will allow you to do faster development, produce better looking solutions, provide a better user and admin experience, and also boost security and performance of your solutions. So let's start with security and performance. Faster development. So the new layout report assistant makes it even easier to get started creating a new layout, which is of course the basis of the user interface in any FileMaker solution. So you begin with choosing the table for the layout that you're creating and give it a unique name. And then you can see that FileMaker allows you to create layouts optimized for the desktop, or mobile devices, or for printing. So you choose the form view, list view, table view, or report view for your layout, and you're just about done. So very simple to create a new layout in the modern versions of FileMaker. Once you have a layout created, generally it is in the new versions of FileMaker, it is a blank layout. So there is a new tool, the field picker, that allows you to select and drag and drop multiple fields onto your layout at once. Now that's a huge time saver, and it allows you to quickly build a layout structure as you want it to be on screen. So you've got options to stack fields vertically or lay them out side by side horizontally, and also options for where you want those field labels to appear relative to the fields. You may not want labels at all, you may want them above, to the left, or actually laying on top of the fields. The field picker also allows you to quickly add new fields on the fly without having to leave this environment. Normally you would need to go into File Manage Database and go and create new fields there and then come back in and add those fields to the layout. But with the field picker, you can do all that sort of thing on the fly, and it just increases the efficiency and speed that you can create solutions with. Similar to other drawing environments, FileMaker Pro has several types of guides available to help you align objects and work to a design grid. So ruler guides allow you to set up a consistent design on and between layouts. Dynamic guides allow you to align and size objects consistently on your layouts. And certainly feel free to experiment with your layout design now, as FileMaker Pro supports multiple levels of undo and redo. In FileMaker Pro 14, this even extends across layout saves. So you can make some changes to a layout, look at them in browse mode, and then go back into layout mode and undo. So that's fantastic. Screen stencils are available to show optimum sizing for various devices like the different desktop sizes, iPhones and iPads. So that's all a great help. One of the biggest changes in FileMaker Pro 14 has been in the area of scripting. FileMaker Pro 14 introduces the script workspace, and FileMaker developers around the world are loving this. Scripting happens in one easy-to-use workspace with tools that assist you in script creation, such as integrated help and filters for scripts and script steps, keyboard shortcuts, and even more. So the tabbed interface allows you to work with multiple scripts at the same time and switch between them easily. A lot of your scripting can now be done exclusively on the keyboard. An example is the autocomplete feature. So you start typing the name of a script step or a word in that script step, and FileMaker will provide a list of matching steps. So you look at this where someone has typed the words go to, and FileMaker will produce all of the go to script steps, and you simply select the one that you want. Or you can type a partial script step like just field, and that would bring up all the script steps that contain the word field. You can even type in abbreviations. So for example, if you wanted the script step go to field, you could type in GTF and that would come straight up. So this makes it really, really easy to start typing the script that you want. Now, most calculation dialogues in FileMaker Pro also have that type ahead to bring up functions and fields and various things to speed up your coding. Also notice that FileMaker 14 uses coloring scripts, so you can pick out your comments or field names with different colors and identify things like if and loop structures in your scripts. You can also insert blank lines to break your scripts into easy to read chunks of code. For me, it's really difficult to go back and use FileMaker 13 or anything before that, so there's a lot to like about the new script workspace. So, of course, there is an expectation these days that when people use any kind of solution on their computer or on their devices, that they are professionally designed, they look good and they feel good. So, what have we done to allow you as a developer to make better looking solutions? Well, one of my favorite new features is called Conditional Visibility. FileMaker Pro allows you to set a calculation to determine whether a layout object will be visible or hidden. For example, if a user selects yes in a particular field, other relevant fields may automatically appear on the screen. So any layout can be conditionally displayed in browse mode and optionally in find mode. And this means that find mode, for example, can display a completely different view and appearance to what the user normally sees in browse mode. And that can be really helpful. There are so many use cases for this feature, and it's completely changed the way that I design layouts and user interface. Slide control is a new object introduced in the modern versions of FileMaker, and it's just like a tab control but without the tabs across the top. It's made up of one or more slide panels, and when moving from one panel to the next, the panels slide left or right, so hence the name slide panel. Just like tab panels, you can put almost any layout object on a slide panel. So they're great for organising discrete sets of objects in the same physical space on a layout. When used in FileMaker Go on the iPad or iPhone, panels can be swiped left or right with one finger. And this is also now supported for touchscreens on Windows 8 devices with FileMaker Pro. If you're using tab panels in your solution, those will continue to work the way they always have, but we've also added new ability to calculate the names of the tab panels. So tab panel names can dynamically update as you use your solution, as you change data and as you move between records. Introduced in FileMaker 13, a popover is a layout object consisting of a button and a popover area. When you click or tap the button, the popover area appears. As with slide panels, you can put almost anything into a popover area. So you can provide additional functionality or information on the layout when a user needs it. This is often a great space saver on layouts. You can see in the example that a single email button can be used to provide the option to email either home or work. Popovers have a lot of built-in customization, allowing you to control when and if they pop open and when they close. And there are literally 101 uses for popovers. A quick browse around the web for FileMaker Popover will reveal lots of blog articles on creative uses for popovers. Now, buttons have been available in FileMaker Pro for quite some time. With FileMaker Pro 14, they've been greatly improved with the ability to add both text and icons. And there are 140 professional icons, and you can add your own to that as well. Ultimately, this means that a button can have text and an icon all bundled into a single object, which simplifies the development and maintenance for your solution. And adding to buttons in FileMaker Pro 14 is the new layout object called a button bar. This is a layout object consisting of one or more segments, and each segment can be either a button or a popover. That gives you a lot of flexibility in design. So segments can have text or icon or both, just like standard buttons can. And there are some great use cases for button bars as navigation toolbars and even status indicators. Adding a background image is simpler than it's ever been before. Now you can specify the background for a layout part, like a body part or a header or a footer, or you can specify it for the entire layout itself. And this can be a solid color, a gradient, a pattern, or an image. And this works for all FileMaker clients. So no matter what you're building in FileMaker, you can have that lovely background image in your layout. One of the biggest changes in moving into FileMaker 12 and onwards is support for themes and styles. So these are powerful tools in FileMaker Pro that can help you easily create beautiful and consistent layouts. So every layout you create has a theme attached to it. And there are many provided with FileMaker Pro 14, and you can customize these themes to your own design. A theme is a collection of styles, and a style is a collection of formatting attributes applied to an object, such as a field, text, or other object. And when a style is modified, all the objects with that style are updated in the same way. And this is both a huge time saver for design, but it also enforces great consistency on your layouts. So it certainly encourages you to play around with your layouts and see how beautiful you can get them to look. And that certainly is a plus for users using your solution. FileMaker Pro 14 features new layout parts. This is the first time we've added new layout parts for quite some versions. We have now top and bottom navigation parts. And these are areas that remain static on your layout when you scroll or zoom. So as the name suggests, they're ideal for building a navigation area for your solutions. So think about apps that you use that have a bar across the bottom of the screen with a series of buttons on it. So you can build that static area into your FileMaker solutions now. And of course, that works great for all of the FileMaker clients that we support on the desktop, Mac and Windows, on the web, and iPad and iPhone. So we also want to improve the experience overall for using the FileMaker platform. And with every new version of the FileMaker platform, we add new features. And these include new calculation functions, new script steps, and new script triggers. As you can see, there have been a lot of new inclusions since version 11, certainly too many to call out here individually. One example is a new script trigger called on-panel switch. And with this, you can control what happens when a user switches between tab panels or slide panels in your solution. An example may be to actually prevent the user going to a particular tab if they haven't provided certain data. So you can control a form of workflow there. A new script step that FileMaker developers have found to be groundbreaking is called Perform Script on Server. And this allows a developer to hand off a process to FileMaker Server. In doing so, many processes happen in seconds, therefore improving the overall performance of a solution for the user and making some things possible on mobile devices previously not possible. So you're probably using FileMaker Server to share your FileMaker solutions within your workgroup. FileMaker Server 14 adds features to help users stay connected and also keep their data secure and available. We've made the admin console completely HTML5 based, so there's no Java Web Start application anymore that was causing us a lot of problems in previous versions. In FileMaker 14, we have extended the ability to automatically reconnect to the server. This was to start with a feature of FileMaker Go. When FileMaker Go lost its connection, it would offer the user, do you want me to try and reconnect? That feature is available for FileMaker Pro users now. We also have a new feature in FileMaker 14 called Standby Server. So this is for experienced admins, and what they can do is to set up two servers, one that mirrors your live server. If for any reason your primary server goes down, an experienced admin can issue some command lines and automatically switch over to the standby server, and the users hardly skip a beat. In FileMaker 13, we introduced innovative new technology called FileMaker Web Direct. This effectively replaces what you might be using at the moment called instant web publishing. This technology delivers the full interactivity and power of FileMaker desktop solutions to the web, running in a browser. With FileMaker Web Direct, business users can deliver a next-generation web solution even though they've never developed any web solution before. You don't need to do a scrap of web programming. We handle all of the modern HTML5, CSS, JavaScript for you. The first version of Web Direct in FileMaker 13 was aimed at browsers running on desktops. Now with FileMaker 14, we further refined the technology and we're extending it out to support mobile tablets. And we've made the technology faster in FileMaker 14 as well. Existing users of 13 will find that FileMaker Web Direct is up to 25% faster when opening most of their web layouts. The solutions that you make in FileMaker Pro can also be customized by specifying a solution icon. And these icons will be displayed in the Launch Center that is featured across all of the different platforms that we support. So it means that users can identify with a particular icon for their solutions rather than the standard FileMaker icon that they might normally have seen. So the Launch Center provides functionality of the quick start screen and a typical open file dialog box and makes it easy for you to run your solutions from. It provides a sort of an app-like interface with big bold icons that are touch friendly. So you can use the icons that we provide, or you can make your own icons and put them onto your solutions. Now, container fields have been around for some time, but they're certainly been greatly improved in the last few versions of FileMaker Pro, and they're really, really coming to the fore in people's solutions these days. Container fields can be configured to store data inside your FileMaker solution, or now we can store container data externally. Now, when you store that data outside of your solution, the advantage is that your FileMaker solution is smaller, it takes less time to back it up, it's less complex internally. Also, when you store that data outside, we can automatically encrypt that data on disk with secure storage. So that adds to the security of the data being stored on your server. We can also make container fields now interactive, and that means that we can allow you to read things like PDF documents in situ in your FileMaker solution, and we can also play video movie files inside your solution inside a container field. So there's a lot of new things there. We automatically handle the thumbnailing of images and other documents that you store. So that means that it greatly reduces the amount of data transferred across local and wide area networks. And we also support in all of the platforms drag and drop into container fields. So it makes it very easy to add things into container fields. So certainly if you haven't seen container fields for a few versions, have a look at those because they're really exciting for all of the new modern FileMaker solutions that people are developing. And speaking of new and modern, this thing has just exploded since FileMaker 11, where we introduced FileMaker Go. We're obviously now up to FileMaker Go 14, and there is a greatly improved iOS experience for FileMaker users on these mobile devices. So we have updated the user interface to a modern iOS interface. As you can see in the screenshot here, we've added specific keyboards for fields. So we've got 9 different keyboards that you can choose from for specific information like URL entry or email entry or phone numbers. And you can have them display any of these for any of the fields. In FileMaker 14, we've greatly improved the media control and playback, so there are a lot of new script triggers for that and calculations to allow you to play videos in situ and still use your database. And we introduced an on-gesture tap script trigger, and what that means is that the solution itself can detect whereabouts on screen the user is tapping with 1, 2, or 3 fingers and respond appropriately to those gesture taps. So it makes for an amazing natural iOS experience there. And finally, very important issues to do with security and performance. We've beefed up the security from version 12, 13 through to 14. Certainly security is paramount when it comes to your data and your FileMaker solutions. So we've got many different features to ensure your data is as secure as it can be. First of all, encryption at rest, or EAR. This provides security for your entire FileMaker solution when it is at rest, and that means when it is stored on disk somewhere, either on your server or on a backup file somewhere. By encrypting it, it prevents unauthorized access to your file data unless the person knows that encryption passkey. And FileMaker Pro Advanced is used to actually encrypt the database in the first place, but then it can simply be used with FileMaker Pro, FileMaker Go, and the other FileMaker clients. So managing those sort of settings is part of the FileMaker Pro Advanced. Along the same lines, FileMaker Pro and FileMaker Go provide you visual feedback as to whether you're accessing a file that's encrypted or whether you're using an SSL certificate. In the managed security area in FileMaker Pro, we've added a basic security view, which makes it very simple to go in there and manage accounts and basic settings, but you can also access the standard managed privilege sets, extended privileges, etc. And finally, Windows users are able to save their account names and passwords into Windows credentials, and solution developers can now control whether users are allowed to save their account names and passwords in credentials on Windows or the keychain on OS X and iOS. So there's a lot of control there over the security of your solution. In terms of performance, FileMaker Pro 14 is architected for 64-bit operating systems on Windows and OS X. And if you still require a 32-bit version of FileMaker Pro 14, maybe for system compatibility or plugin compatibility, there are certainly still 32-bit versions available of FileMaker Pro. FileMaker Web Direct is faster in FileMaker 14 and without any increase in hardware requirements, but we've also increased the capacity of FileMaker Web Direct. So certainly you need to think a bit about how you're going to design solutions for FileMaker Web Direct, but you can learn more about that by consulting the FileMaker Web Direct guide, which is available on our website. So it's probably an opportune moment to have a look at a bit of a demo of FileMaker 14 and what that looks like. So I'm just going to hop out of this, this presentation file here, and I'm just going to show you the process of upgrading a FileMaker 7 solution. If I open up this solution here, just launching with FileMaker Pro 11, you can see this is a contact management solution that shipped with FileMaker Pro 11. So it was one of our starter solutions at the time. And you've got all sorts of functionality here, being able to see related people by company and by name and by city. So there's nice functionality there. If we look in the relationship graph, we have some complex relationships in here, and we can do all sorts of things. We've got website access, so we've got a web viewer on this tab, and also a map of the office on this tab. So what I'm going to do here, admittedly, this is a reasonably simple and quite small solution, but I'm going to close this up and just show you how simple it is to convert this to FileMaker 14 and how it comes across. So I'm going to drag and drop this onto my FileMaker 14 icon, and FileMaker 14 tells me that I need to convert this. So I don't need to rename the old file. I'll just leave the old file exactly as it was and click OK to do the conversion. And it asks me what I want to name it, so I'm going to name it exactly the same thing, but it's going to have a .fmp12 extension, and I'm going to save that on my desktop. So I'll save that there, and it goes through the steps, and as I said, it's a very, very simple solution, very small, so it's quite a quick conversion. And you can see here, if we compare the FileMaker 11 version to the FileMaker 14 version, we've got enormously consistent results here. And this still works, so we've still got the same sort of thing, filtering by name and company. We've still got these web viewers that are loading the website here, and also the maps. So all of this functionality still works. We've still got these reports that we can produce from here. And effectively, if we do a little bit more testing on this and just make sure that our scripting is working here, then we could go live with this solution and keep using it as we have before. So that's a great example of how potentially easy it can be to upgrade to FileMaker 14. So it certainly behoves you to do your appropriate testing before you go live with your new 14 solution, but to all intents and purposes, we can now use this solution. So let's just quit out of that, and I'll have a look at one of our existing starter solutions in FileMaker 12 and just show you a few of the features here that I mentioned as I went through the presentation. First of all, getting ourselves into layout mode and creating a new layout. So I showed you this in the presentation where we're choosing the particular table that we want to create a layout from, and new asset layout. And we could create a layout for a computer or for a touch device. So let's say that we're creating a new layout for an iPad, and this is going to be, say, a form. And I'm going to design it for a portrait view in the iPad and say finish. So it's as easy as that to create a new layout. And I know if I just zoom out a little bit here that this layout is right-sized for an iPad. But as I also mentioned in the presentation, you'll see that it is completely blank. So there's nothing on this layout at the moment in terms of fields or labels or anything else. So I'm going to use the new Field Picker tool, and you can see here that I've got access to all of the fields in the table, and I can grab a number of these fields and simply drag and drop those fields onto the layout. So I could have them side by side here, or I could grab a number of fields here and place them next to each other, maybe with the labels above, and just simply drag and drop them onto my layout. So in very quick order, I can start building my layout, different sections of the layout. And of course, we've got all the sort of normal layout tools like our text tool that allows us to put some text up the top of our layout. So if we click up here and put some text in there into the header of our layout, we can draw lines and boxes and things like we've been able to do before, and they're all the normal sort of tools that we've been used to. Being able to create buttons, for example. So the button tool is still here. We can drag out a button, but there's a difference here with the button setup heads-up display. So this is where we can say, well, I might want a button on here which is going to be called New Record, and I might want to combine that with an icon. So these are all the new icons that we've provided with FileMaker Pro 14, and there are some 140 different icons in here, but you've also got the ability to add your own icons. So I'm going to create an icon that has the add icon attached to it. I can make that icon a little bit bigger, and I can make the button bigger or square, or however I want to design my layout. And then I've got the ability to add an action to that button. Maybe it's going to be a single step, and I'm going to use the type ahead feature here in the scripting area to be able to choose new record requests. So very, very simple to do this. While we're on the subject of these tools here is the new tool, the button toolbar, and that can allow us to bring out a button toolbar full of segments here, and we can add more segments if we need, and any one of these segments can either be a button or a popover. So a lot of flexibility there with building our solution. If we go back to one of the existing layouts in the startup solution, we will see that these tools have been used in the startup solution. So for example, over here, we have a button bar that has a couple of rounded buttons on there. And if we go back to the desktop and the asset details, we'll see here that a number of tools have been used here to create buttons and also popovers. So there are popovers in here that expose more information. So lots of really good handy stuff there. Now, as I said to you, one of the big productivity boost for me has been that I can play around with a layout and I can delete things and move things around and resize things and add things to a layout. And I have the ability to undo these things effectively unlimited right back to I'm just pressing Command Z here and undoing all of the changes I've made to this layout. And I can also redo all of these changes with a shortcut Command Shift Z. So I'll go Command Shift Z and redo all of those changes. And the great thing is that I can even exit layout mode, save the changes, say, oops, that wasn't what I wanted. So I'm going to go back into layout mode and I'm going to undo those changes again. So this really is a great increase to my productivity when I make mistakes on a layout, change the wrong layout, etc., and are able to redo that stuff. So the other thing that was mentioned was the design guides. As I have a layout, an object here, as I resize this, you can see that I get indicators when it's the same size as other objects on the layout. So it makes it really, really simple to make a couple of objects the same size. As I move things around, I can tell when things come into alignment. So it makes it very easy to make things line up exactly and be exactly the same size as objects around them. So we can also put in our guides here, and we can say that everything is going to be lined up according to this guide here, and we can pull another guide out of the top here and start setting up a sort of a design grid for ourselves that's going to work in this layout. So lots of really useful stuff there. When we look at the new scripts workspace in version 14, you can see here we've got a list of all of the scripts, and I might want to filter this list down to just the scripts that are triggers. So I can see here are all the scripts that have got the word trigger in there, and I can have a look at that script, and you can see the color coding that's coming in here to show me the names of fields and the sort of script structure that we've got. I could add in a blank line here to distinguish this block of code from this block of code. And if I want to add in some extra code, so I might want a loop statement in here, as I start typing loop, all of the script steps with the word looping appear. When the one that I want is highlighted, I can press return again to add in a blank line, and I might want a new record there to come in there. So very, very simple to add those in. If I'm a beginning user and I don't know what some of these script steps do, I can click on them and see a description of that script step. I can also come over here if I'm not quite certain what script steps exist, say for fields, then I can type field and filter this list down to all of the field script steps that involve fields. So all in all, it's an amazingly productive area for doing scripting. The other thing that I want to show you is the ability to conditionally hide objects. So you'll see that a number of objects on this layout have this new icon on them, or the new badge on them, which is a little eyeball, which indicates that this object is conditionally hidden. If we click on this object and look in the inspector, we can see here what is the condition under which that object will be hidden. And what this is saying is that this object will be hidden when this field here, which is the container field in the background, is not empty, or when the window mode equals 1, which is find mode. So in find mode, or when the object behind is not empty, then this will disappear. And the purpose of that is to say that we can have this icon here, but when there is something inside that field, if we can drag and drop something in there, then that icon will disappear. So in this case, the icon appears, in this case, the icon disappears. So it makes for a great sort of user interface that you can design in your layout. So lots and lots of things. Obviously, it's impossible in this short webinar to go through everything that we've covered in there, but hopefully there are some things there that are quite appealing to you in terms of how you can change the design of your solutions. And certainly happy to answer some questions on those going forward in a moment. So what are your next steps with FileMaker 14? Well, there is a recorded webinar, which is an in-depth demonstration of FileMaker 14 features. If you haven't seen that, just go to filemaker.com/learning/webinars and look for the Meet FileMaker 14 webinar. There's also a detailed list of features of everything from FileMaker 11 through to 14. If you look at that URL, it's probably easier just to get in and Google something like FileMaker version comparison. That particular link will come up and you can have a look at that article that we've published there, just to see what were the new features in version 12, 13, 14, and see what you can take advantage of. And of course, if you don't already have a license of FileMaker 14, you can go to filemaker.com/trial and you can convert a copy of your solution and play around with it for 30 days. And if in that time you're convinced, then certainly you can convert that trial copy to a full license copy by buying a license code. So speaking of license codes, what are your FileMaker purchase options? Well, if you have single licenses of FileMaker 11, there is an upgrade price available to you until the 25th of September. That upgrade price will strictly disappear after the end of the 25th of September, so head to store.filemaker.com, get into the Australian, New Zealand, Singapore stores and purchase your upgrade licenses there. If you do that before the 25th of September, then you're going to get great pricing. If you wait until after then, unfortunately, you will not be eligible for upgrade pricing and you will have to buy a full new license. If you have FileMaker 11 volume licensing and you want to talk about how you upgrade to FileMaker 14, then certainly call one of our free call numbers. Come straight through to the licensing people here. They will have all the information about what existing licensing you already have and what is the best path for you to upgrade to FileMaker 14. So certainly talk to our team here. We've got people waiting for you on the phone to talk to you about how you can upgrade your licensing. What they may also mention to you is a promotion that we have running at the moment called Boost Your Business. And there's a Boost Your Business kit. This may be applicable to your particular licensing and provide for you the cheapest and easiest way to get to FileMaker 14. So with the Boost Your Business kit, what you get is FileMaker Server 14, 5 concurrent connections that allow you to connect FileMaker Go and FileMaker Web Direct, and also gives you 5 free copies of FileMaker Pro 14. No additional cost for those in the first year. So that's a 40% saving. So it's a great promotion that we're running at the moment. Again, up until the end of September, this promotion will be available to get you up to FileMaker 14. So you can save 40%. Just as an indication. The full retail price of this promotion is just $1,010 in the first year. So again, ring those numbers and talk to our licensing team about whether this promotion will fit what you want, and just mention that you've seen the webinar and that you were recommended to it through the webinar. So certainly there's a great new promotion there that can boost your business and get you up to the modern version of FileMaker Pro and FileMaker Server. So with that, let's have a look and just see if people have had any questions. There are certainly a few questions here, so I'll run through these. First of all, there were some people having some difficulty with the video. So yes, this particular session is being recorded, so I will try and make this available. I'm also aware that the webinar that was run in the States will also be made available, so there'll be plenty of resources to see that. Question here, is there any possibility of the file being corrupted in the conversion process, and would there be any issues if the file had been recovered in the past? First of all, no, there's no possibility of corrupting the file in the process of converting to FMP12. What you may see is evidence of existing corruption in the FP7 format. So that's why it is very important to have a good look at the converted file, and just to see whether there are any issues that have raised their head when you do that conversion. But certainly if you have any problems with the conversion, ring through to our tech support line. Tim will try to help you as best he can. If there's something more technical, he might refer you on to me. Are there any features that have been deprecated through the process since FileMaker Pro 11 to 14 that may affect it? There are certainly some features that have changed. One of those prime features is the complete removal of, for example, instant web publishing. So I know that we have a lot of people in FileMaker 11 who are using instant web publishing to share their solutions to people in web browsers. Now that has obviously been completely replaced with FileMaker Web Direct. So no, you need to make the change to FileMaker Web Direct in version 14, and that again would be part of your testing process to say, let's set up a FileMaker 14 server, let's convert our solutions, host them on FileMaker 14 server, and see how FileMaker Web Direct works. And how it is different. You'll probably find that it's a great improvement in the experience that users have had with instant web publishing. In terms of some other things, there's not necessarily things that have been removed. There are some minor things that have been removed, and you can see that in our websites when we talk about the new features in version 13 and 14. In the main, what's happened is that features have changed. So a script step might have changed its name, a calculation function might have changed its name, and you will even see that when you look at the converted FileMaker 14 file. So, but certainly it is good practice to make sure that you have a good look at the converted file, and the advice that I gave you through the webinar was to convert that file and have a play around with it yourself before you were certainly going to release it on the rest of the world. Do you need a second license to create the redundant server workflow? This has been quite a commonly asked question, and the answer is no. When we're talking about this standby server, the standby server uses the same FileMaker server license that your live server uses. There is a way to install that, and the standby server is not a live server. So even though it uses the same license, it doesn't appear on the network like the live server does. So no, there is no second license used there. Another question about upgrading from 11 to 14. If you upgrade that database, can FileMaker Pro 11 still access the database? And the answer is no. Because it is a file format change, it's a one-in, all-in upgrade. So you have to be careful about staging that upgrade and letting your users know when you are changing over. So it is a major change for people, and you've got to get all of your processes right and your staging right for that to move over. In terms of FileMaker ourselves as a company, obviously we have a lot of FileMaker databases and in fact a lot of servers, and we very carefully stage the move for all of our users worldwide from FileMaker 11 to FileMaker 12. So that basically they went home on Friday afternoon, and in the morning on FileMaker, the Monday morning, all of them booted up FileMaker 12 at the time and started using the same databases again. But there was a very long process before that in doing test conversions with all of our databases and moving them up. Certainly, if you want advice on that process in moving from 11 to 14 and how you should stage that, certainly give us a call. Tell them that you've been talking to us on this webinar. Having said that, on the screen is my email address. So david_head@filemaker.com. I am very happy to directly answer any of these questions that you've got. If you have a question that you're not comfortable asking on the webinar here, then certainly send me an email and I'll do my best to answer that as quickly as I can and point you to any of the resources that we have that are useful for you as well. So certainly feel free to use my email address and email me questions about conversions and how you would do that and taking advantage of new features in FileMaker 14. But what I would strongly encourage you to do, if you don't have a copy of FileMaker Pro 14 already, go and get a trial copy of that. That's a fully enabled 30-day trial copy of FileMaker 14, and grab a copy of your database, convert the file, have a play around with it, see how it works. If you've got any problems at all with it, shoot me an email or ring up our tech support line and see what can be done. Thank you again for spending your time with us to have a look at this. I hope that you've got a lot out of this webinar and that you can now comfortably make the move to FileMaker 14. There's some really exciting stuff there and really exciting stuff coming in future versions as well that you'll be well prepared for. So good luck with that and enjoy the rest of your day.